Good morning, everybody. My name is Sonya Wong, and I'm a CPA and financial professional with QX Financial. And prior to my career at QX Financial, I worked in public accounting, worked at two CPA firms, and I also worked at Hilton Hotels and Disney. So I worked in the Burbank office, the headquarters there, and then I moved down to Orange County, and then I assisted the folks in the Anaheim office. So yeah, was able to work with a great group of people and learned a lot. But further along in my career, I just decided that I really should be helping individuals and small businesses because I feel that they're underserved. I mean, corporations have so many people at their disposal, so many accountants and attorneys at their disposal, but what about the rest of us? So that's why I'm here on this mission with QX Financial, and we're trying to help the underserved segments of the population. And I met Ben in 2018, and just found the right group of people and decided that, hey, I'm just going to plant roots at QX Financial, and let's do our thing to help people. So today I'm going to be talking about long-term care planning options, and it's going to be a two-part presentation. The first one will be this packet here, and then the second packet will be the other one. So let's open up this long-term care planning options packet, and I printed it double-sided and in color. So last night I ended up running out of toner cartridge, and I had to run over to Staples and print out this information for you. So according to the Administration for Community Living, and that's an agency that was created by the Department of Health and Human Services, over 70% of people over the age of 65 are going to need long-term care. I don't know if you think that's a high number or a low number, but this is based on decades of study that they arrived at this percentage.
Sounds high to me.
It sounds high, but
yeah.
That it came from Department of Health and Human Services.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe take that with a grain of salt, but.
Can you define long-term care?
Yeah.
Sure. Long-term care is, and you just led right into the next page.
Well, you give stats, but
Yeah.
I mean, what is it?
Yeah, so it's basically assistance or aid with activities of daily living. Right?
So how long is long-term? That's my point.
Oh, okay.
Because
So
everybody's going to need care
Right.
eventually.
Yeah. So
100%.
Well, so it would be anything like anything over 90 days.
Okay.
Anything over 90
All
days.
right.
So, thank you for that question. So,
As long
yeah.
as you continue to pay your premiums.
Right.
Yeah, or you could pay up your premiums, right? You can do single, but I don't want to get ahead of the information that I'm about to share with you. So, so basically, long-term care is assistance or supervision with activities of daily living. They're commonly referred to as ADLs. And what are those activities of daily living? Well, there are 6 of them. The first one being eating, dressing, bathing, transferring, toileting, and continence. So this may involve the use of skilled nursing or unskilled labor, or a combination of the two. And there's a misconception out there that long-term care is covered by Medicare, and it's not. So yeah, once everyone gets on Medicare, they have a rude awakening. So next page.
And you should mention the fact that there's a drastic shortage of workers in that
Oh, yeah.
space.
Yeah.
A drastic shortage.
Yeah.
And COVID just exacerbated it.
Exactly. You had some care workers leave, or
Yeah.
there's a very high attrition rate right
Well,
now.
and according to the American Association of Family Practitioners, they released this on Sunday,
Mhm.
1.7 million primary care physicians have left the field in 2002 across the United States.
Wow.
And they expect it to be close to 12 million and leaving the field over the next 10 years and not coming back in.
Yeah.
How many are in the field?
Not enough,
Not
You know-
enough, yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds catastrophic.
especially geriatric physicians.
Yeah.
So just think, you have an increasing
Yeah.
aging population, and you have a decreasing source of care providers.
Right.
So-
And they're saying the big thing is doctors that are coming into the field now
Yeah.
are avoiding family practice and getting specialties
Oh,
Which pay more.
or
Yes.
becoming concierge physicians, which are all cash.
Yeah, we have one that just joined the Orange Chamber of Commerce. She's a concierge physician.
Mhm.
And she says, you know, you pay me, I think she was charging something like $100 a month.
Mhm.
And she says, you know, based on the severity of your, you know, request, you can get to see her within 15 minutes to, you know, within 2 or 3 days.
2 or 3 days. Oh,
So you pay her a retainer? in
Pay
effect?
her monthly fee,
Huh.
that makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, so some of the qualitative questions that people should be asking themselves when they plan for their long-term care is, you know, first of all, who's going to take care of me if something happens to me, right? If I suffer from some type of illness or injury or disability, who would that be? And can my spouse or other caregiver take time off of their schedule to take care of me? And, you know, if that person is, you know, working, can they financially or physically take care of me? Is that something that's a possibility? And we're not talking about, you know, just whether someone can take care of us. Let's think about what the effects are, what the generational and intergenerational effects are. Is anyone else depending on me? Does a grandchild or a child depend on me still? You know, a few people may have some special needs, loved ones that they need to take care of. What's going to happen with them? Right, you need to provide for them as well. And lastly, how am I going to pay for my long-term care? So, yeah, next page. So the ways that we can prepare for these needs are, you can self-fund, or 2, you can use the traditional long-term care solution, or 3, you can use what is called asset-based long-term care insurance, and that involves the use of like a whole life insurance policy that has cash value accumulation, or you can link it to an annuity contract, and those things are known as hybrid long-term care insurance.
Yeah, I have one of those.
Oh, good, okay.
I've got the regular one.
Okay, yeah, so, you know, it would be good to review your policy,
Yeah.
you know, every other year, just to make sure it still meets your needs.
Yeah.
So let's explore that first method of self-funding. This means that your plans would use these assets for lifestyle or legacy, right? And it could change drastically because of things like market volatility, right, or change in tax laws. And in order to fund the cost, you would have to liquidate your assets, right, your savings, in order to pay for your care. So let's move on to the second option, which is traditional long-term care insurance, right? This is nicknamed the use it or lose it option, and I always think of it as like car insurance,
Yeah.
right? You pay it, and it's like, if you don't get into an accident, great, but then where'd your money go? It's kind of gone, right? You incurred some opportunity costs as well, but it's a requirement to have car insurance.
So can I back up a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
Under the self-funding option, bullet
Yeah.
point number 2, is this where someone could take out a reverse mortgage on a home they own free and clear they live in and use those funds to self-fund a plan?
They could, yeah.
Okay.
They could use that, so that's a really good question.
Okay.
In fact, I was gonna have Yolanda jump in real quick about that, you know, where they could tap into the equity of their home.
Mhm.
So the funds you would put into like an annuity? Or
Well-
that you would take out in the?
Yeah, so Greg was saying, Yeah, I think you were mentioning option one, right? Where you
Yeah.
could tap into your equity and you could fund your long-term care that way, or some people may use it to self-fund, but it may be better off for people to use it to fund a
Well, I know
policy.
humans when they self-fund themselves. Woohoo! Let's go
Yeah,
party.
exactly. Yeah, they don't
So-
think about when the S hits the fan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, because so what you're saying is, if we use a reverse mortgage on doing this, they've got a bulk of cash to do something with.
Yep.
And then, what do you do with that cash? And that's where you're going with number two.
Yeah, actually,
Or
number
three?
two has been out there for a while. That's a
Okay.
solution that has been out there for a while.
So that's why I was mentioning that you use that bulk of cash to buy an annuity.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
Which,
Okay.
which would, yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
there are different options.
Okay.
Yeah, people can choose to do option two if they wanted to,
Okay.
and then there's option three, which is gaining some recognition, and that is what is called asset-based long-term care solutions. So again, it's a hybrid solution, right? You've got either a life insurance policy is tethered to a life insurance policy or an annuity contract.
Yeah, I have one of those from Prudential. It's a hybrid.
Okay.
$300,000 universal whole life or $300,000 long-term care. And it's, I got it just before I turned 60.
Okay.
And I've been paying $700 a month since.
Okay. And is it like they just say it's level or something like that? So
What?
Is it level? It won't increase $700?
Yeah, no, the $700 doesn't increase, and then my cash out value in the
Good.
universal whole life just keeps increasing.
Nice.
But
Good. Yeah, so Lou has some experience with that. Well, good for you. So with this particular solution, if you don't need to tap into the long-term care benefit, you can actually get a return of the premium, and if you don't use it and you pass away, you can pass this asset over to your beneficiaries
Right.
in the form of a death benefit. That's what
yeah, it's in my trust.
yeah. And so, in some cases, you may be able to take a loan against the cash value of the policy too. So, going to the next page, let's take a look at an example of how how the funding would look in those three different scenarios. Let's say that the healthcare cost, the long-term healthcare costs, came to about $765,979. So if you were to self-fund, of course, you would have to self-fund the entire $765,979. But if you had a traditional long-term care policy, right, you'd be paying, out-of-pocket expenses of $256,765. And this is just an example, right? Everyone's situation will be a little different. And then the third is asset-based long-term care, right? The hybrid one is, you'll find that it's just the out-of-pocket expenses are just slightly under the traditional long-term care policy. And then there's a death benefit. So if you were to chart that on a bar graph, and that's on the next page.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
The $765,979 health costs, how was that derived for the sample?
Oh, okay. They took a look at a 65-year-old. So, this is just an example, right? Of course, expenses for a 60-year-old or a 55-year-old or a 75-year-old will look differently. And this is just to measure,
Right.
comparison, or take a comparison.
And does that 700,000 plus assume inflationary increases into the long-term care costs, or is it just based at this age they're going to live to this point?
Yeah, it is basically a blend of those different factors, like inflation, right? Because there is an inflation rider with some of those two solutions. Yeah. So.
On the bar chart, it's starting at age 65, correct?
Yeah.
And
So.
moving on from there, and then how far down the road are we at 257,000?
Well, this is assuming that the policy is fully funded, right? They either pay single premium or they pay over the course of 10 years.
Okay,
So,
so I've had mine for 10 years, so.
okay.
Am I fully funded? I have to take a look.
Yeah, we'd have to take a look at your policy
Yeah.
just to see if.
Depends on whether they're still sending you a bill or not.
They are, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
But that happens too.
So what is the
They
average
keep sending-
cost of long-term care now, per day?
the average, in California, well, I was gonna say by month, on the low end, it's $7,000 a month.
$7,000 a month.
Yeah, and then, average is about, 10,000 for California. And it's higher for, Hawaii, like Massachusetts, New York, yeah.
So is my $300,000 enough?
I mean, it depends on how much your care is, or, would you be getting that care at home? And
How long do you
even,
wanna live?
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
know.
I gotta live until 81 just to make, break even on my collecting social security at 70, so I gotta live to at least 81, so I got plans until then. That's another 10 years. You gotta put up with me.
Greg's like, darn, they're like brothers. Yeah, so, you can see just visually, self-funding versus the other two methods.
Right.
So,
Wow.
yeah, let's go to the next page, which is, when the long-term care benefits are, activated. So, in order for those long-term care benefits to be activated, the policyholder must not be able to perform at least 2 of the 6 daily, 6 activities of daily living, for at least 90 days. So, again, those 6, eating, bathing, dressing, transferring, toileting, and
So you got
continence.
90 days of taking care of yourself,
Yeah,
and then it kicks in.
yeah, then it kicks in. But you have to, when you first cannot do those 2 things, you have to start the clock and let them know that,
Yeah, right.
hey, I know I'm not gonna be able to, or somebody, your caregiver, your, whoever you designate as a power of attorney,
Mhm.
have them notify, the claims department. So, yeah, the other way that these benefits can be activated is if the policyholder is diagnosed with cognitive, like severe cognitive impairment, like Alzheimer's. Okay, so let's get to the next page.
I even have a gap policy
Oh, okay.
that fills in between the time that my long-term
Oh,
care
good.
kicks in and it's supposed to fill in the gap.
Right, well, that's good, because usually that's one of the toughest parts, is like, those 90 days.
That's
are tough.
118 bucks a
We've been
month.
planning on you kicking off during the 90 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Serious.
Yeah.
So, it's important for us to designate assets for specific purposes, right? Where, hey, make sure that you're keeping your retirement assets working, growing, so that you can fund your lifestyle, right? And then, also, you probably want to leave something to your beneficiaries, or your kids, or a charity. And also, it's important for you to have a plan in the first place, and then review it every so often. Right? So don't wait longer than 5 years to review your plan, because of all the, changes in laws, right? You could be dealing with, market volatility, like shocks, systemic shocks. So, some things that some people didn't know is that, depending on your tax situation, you may be able to deduct your long-term care insurance premiums, right? I have a chart for you, it's in the packet of information, 2023 deduction limits. So, and then whatever unused long-term care benefits that are left over from your asset-based long-term care policy can be used as a tax-free death benefit. So, if you ever want to take a look at the studies that the Department of Health and Human Services did to determine, to provide us with these statistics, you can go to that QR code. You can scan that QR code, or go Google LTSS, and you'll be able to get a lot of great information. So these are just ideas for you to go over with your, financial advisor, your CPA, your
Great.
tax person. Yeah, so now let's get to the second set of slides, right? And this is where, you know, there's some solutions.
Hope
And
it's as good as the first. This is very,
Yeah,
very
good.
good information.
thank
Oh,
you,
no
I
kidding.
appreciate that. Yeah, so, you know, there's a silver lining. We can use long-term care solutions
Use a
as.
silver lining
Huh?
rather than a silver bullet.
Rather than silver sneakers.
Hey, pick your poison, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We live in California, so we're used to it. We're immune to the poison.
Yeah. Exactly. So, yeah, you know, I'm just gonna go over how people can use long-term care solutions to optimize their income and preserve their retirement assets. So, you know, there are many risks that retirees face, but the main ones are things like the market risk, right, tax risk, and then longevity risk, right? We don't know how long we're gonna live. And so we wanna make sure that we don't outlive our money at the very least. So what the financial experts have
I'm
come
okay
up with.
without living my money.
Because
I'd
you're
be
a
happy to.
low maintenance person.
That's right.
Yeah, good for you. I know many people who are not.
I just have this cup already set up with pencils and I'm ready.
Nice, yeah. Okay, more people should learn from you. So, the financial experts, come to like a general consensus as to what the safe withdrawal rate is. And, just in case you don't know what the safe what that means is, that is the, annual rate at which you should be withdrawing from your retirement assets, without draining it, right, before you pass away. And so, the consensus is that the safe withdrawal rate should be 3.3%. 2 years ago, it was 4%. So now the experts had to reduce it, right, based on inflation, based on market, based on, you know,
I don't quite
taxes.
understand what that means.
Oh, the safe withdrawal rate?
Yeah.
So, you know, that's the annual rate that you should, it's like a rule of thumb that you should use to withdraw from your retirement assets.
Okay, and if you're not retired, that doesn't apply to you.
Exactly, it doesn't, this applies to the retirees.
So you're saying someone has $1 million in assets,
Yes.
and then they start withdrawing $33,000 a year out of that million would be a safe number
Yeah.
to coexist or to live or
Yes.
sustain themselves upon.
Yeah.
Because it should generate 33,000 a year, approximately,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
so it maintains the same.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
But as we know,
It's not.
yeah, it's not. That's in an ideal world, right? That you would generate at least 3%.
but I have a defined benefit pension, so I don't have to withdraw, I just get monthly pension
Yeah, exactly.
payments.
That would be different now, because a lot of people have put their
Doesn't
money.
have a max either, does it?
No, it just keeps paying me as long as I
for as long
live.
as you live. Yeah.
So you don't have to worry.
Yeah. So the people who really have to worry are the people with, you know, 401ks,
Mhm.
403bs, right? They need to make sure they don't drain it all.
That's why the state doesn't offer a defined benefit pension
Exactly.
anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's nice they pay for my health care too.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
That's a big weight off my shoulders.
And the other thing is that I've helped people that have self-directed IRAs and they've bought real estate and put it in there.
Sure.
They're reaching the time where they have to start doing a drawdown.
Mhm.
And I've spoken to two of these different handlers and they're saying they have to draw down 7% every year.
That's true.
I mean, is that just the plan itself or is that what they,
Yeah,
what they
it's a
saw?
requirement, you know, with all the tax the internal revenue codes and everything like that, but, with the 401ks, and other types of, qualified accounts, right, that's kind of like the rule of thumb.
IRAs are that way too.
Didn't they
Yeah.
just change the regulations on the drawdown? I
Oh,
think
they changed the age, right? They changed the
The
age
age?
at which you
Okay.
can
I thought it was
start, like the
percentage
required
also.
minimum distribution age. So for 2023, they bumped the required minimum distribution age to 73. It used to be 72. Like it changed within them, like from 2020 to 2022, it went from 70 and a half to 72.
Mhm.
And then this year, It's 73.
And what's the percent do you have to take out, or minimum you have to take
It depends on, like the mortality tables they use for,
out? Actuarial?
yeah, the actuary, yeah, exactly, the actuary
Okay.
tables.
Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, right now that's it. If you don't wanna drain it to oblivion. I think last week you used the term, if you don't wanna drain your retirement assets into oblivion, make arrangements for long-term care, right? So, you know, people think that cash flow and income are the same, but they're not always the same. And Yolanda was going to speak today with me, but we were going to bring to your attention that cash flow from the reverse mortgages are not taxable. Okay, so,
Right.
and then same thing with distributions via loans from your whole life cash value policy, cash value insurance policies. Those are generally tax-free. And then benefits from your long-term care insurance are generally tax-free as well. So if you go to the next slide, you know, let's put ourselves in the place of a retiree who started their retirement in 1965, okay? Let's say he or she started with $1 million, and we're gonna look at the, you know, just take a look at the solid gray line. And, you know that from 1965 to 1990, we've seen recessions and market downturns. And if I was a retiree with just a 401k or you know, something like that, or some other assets that would be taxable, and I took distributions during all those years, I'm whittling down my principal, right? I'm no longer able to earn any interest, dividends, or income on that principal. So what if I could afford to wait out some years, right? What if I was able to take like a reverse mortgage or take distributions from my whole life policy? Now, if I took all my distributions without the help of those buffer assets, I would be out of money by 1995. Just saying, I retired in 1965, and if I took all my distributions during all those severe up and down shocks to the market, I would run out of money by 1995. I would probably get my Social Security, but that's, you know, that's as much as I'm gonna get.
Oh, that's good for a double wide refrigerator box under the freeway overpass. Yeah, the Social Security, yeah.
Yeah, I know, it doesn't, even though they adjust Social Security for inflation, they couldn't adjust it fast enough, you know. So in a best case scenario, if we could wait it out, right? Wait it out, not touch our investments or our retirement assets, at least it would allow those assets to, those investments to grow, right? And that's how you're able to preserve your, you know, your retirement assets through the use of buffer assets like reverse mortgages, whole life insurance policies, and long-term care solutions.
I have a question. In
Yes.
the second graph, I
Yeah.
don't know, are we at the second graph?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, The thick line says it skips 67, 70. Does it just mean they don't take withdrawals in those years?
Exactly, yeah, bingo.
And is it because of like the advice of the finance, like it's not a favorable year to get the
Yeah,
withdrawal, or what?
Yeah, either they know, or they talk to their advisors, and the advisor's saying, hey, you know what, give your investments a chance to grow. Do you have another
Okay.
bucket or pot of money that you can draw on for your basic living needs? Yeah.
Sure, I'll go live with my children.
Yes. Or your grandkid, right, when she
Oh,
starts
God.
with. Yeah. So, yeah, this is the solid gray line. That would be a best case scenario. And, you know, this is all pre-tax, okay? These two graphs just show what would happen, right, if you left those assets alone. And that's before tax. So let's get to the next juicy one,
I'd
which
have to
is.
leave my tax payment alone too.
Yeah, the next thing is, how do we solve for taxes, right? We, you know, and there are 3 different buckets, and we'll go over what those buckets are. But the way traditional investments like 401ks and IRAs, traditional IRAs are set up, is that people taking distributions from those accounts have to pay taxes. at rates that are prevailing at the time of distribution. Okay, so right now we're in a very, believe it or not, low tax rate environment. So if you think tax rates are high now, you know, guess what they will probably be in the future, just based on our $31 trillion deficit. You know, someone's got to foot the bill, right?
World War II through the early 60s, it was, the top category was 90%
Yep,
taxes.
yeah,
So you make 100,000, you keep 10 and give 90 to the government.
yeah. And that's why Ronald Reagan, he was supposed to do 3 movies. I think he ended up doing 2 because he didn't want to pay more than he needed to the IRS or the state of California.
I think it was actually Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, that reduced the highest rate
Yeah,
and made some tax cuts to stimulate the economy.
yeah, yeah, so, good
So-
point.
And the tax liability is due on the amount taken at distribution, not
Correct.
on the whole amount.
Exactly,
Right.
yeah, whatever you took in,
Okay.
whatever we take in distributions, we have to pay taxes on that amount.
Right.
So, you know, so what we wanna do is we wanna find a way to, you know, protect our money in a tax-free way.
You pay taxes on your Social Security too, don't you?
Exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
so,
So, I
it
mean-
depends on what your modified, adjusted, gross income
Yeah,
comes to, so.
so,
Yeah, so let's go over those 3 different buckets. The first one being the tax now bucket, we all know what those are. You know, just things
Oh,
like
yeah.
brokerage and stock. Just,
oh, yeah.
yeah, that's where a lot of people keep their money. And then the next bucket is the tax deferred bucket, right? So those are things like the 401k. For government employees, they're TSPs. And then 403Bs, and then,
You could have deferred sales trust to tax deferred, couldn't you?
yeah.
Yeah.
What's TSP stand for?
Oh, it's the thrift savings plan that federal employees have.
It's called a thrift savings plan.
thrift savings. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Savings.
And so the last bucket is the tax-free bucket, and, you know, we also refer to those as buffer assets.
Okay.
So what falls in that buffer assets bucket are things like your Roth IRAs, your TFRA, which is the cash value whole life policies.
Cash value,
Yeah, cash value whole life policies.
cash value life policies.
Yeah,
That's really whole life, huh?
yeah. And then
What does RA stand for?
the retirement tax-free retirement account. Yeah, tax-free retirement account. And then the third one is the HECM, right, which is the reverse mortgage. Right? Yola's going to talk about that. And then long-term care insurance benefits, right? Because when you use the benefits, they're not included in your income. Yeah. So some people have a tax bliss period, okay? Those are the people who are aged 59 and a half to 73. What is the significance of 59 and a half, age 59 and a half? That's the first age, or that's the age at which you can start taking money from your Roth IRA and your 401k. Yeah. And then 73, well, you know, it's the updated age for required minimum distributions.
But you can't take Social Security before 62, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you can start slowly moving money out of the tax now and the tax deferred buckets into a tax-free bucket, at least you can diversify your tax risk, right? Manage your tax risk, so that not all of it is, you know, vulnerable or exposed to taxation. And you remember me mentioning that Medicare doesn't cover long-term care needs. You know, people seem to think that Medicare Part B covers that, but it actually just covers, you know, doctor and healthcare provider services, right? Outpatient care, right? And the other thing that Part B covers is also like durable medical equipment, right? And then home health care, like very limited home health care, and then maybe some preventative services. But they're not gonna cover assistance for activities of daily living. You know,
But does it cover the doctor visiting you in the assisted living home or in the nursing home?
To a certain extent. There
Okay.
is a limit and a cap, but that, it will cover a portion of that. And the other thing to know about Medicare is that the higher your income is, and when I'm talking about modified adjusted gross income, you'll have to pay an additional premium amount for Medicare Part B. Ouch, right? And then also that increases for the Medicare prescription drug coverage as well. Yeah, it's nicknamed the income-related monthly adjustment amount. Yeah, so, something that most people don't know is that depending on our tax situation, we may be able to deduct our long-term care insurance premiums, right? That's the amount that you can deduct. It depends on what age band you fall under. I don't need to repeat myself with the unused long-term care benefits. Those are tax-free to your beneficiaries as well. And then here's the chart of deductible limits, right, based on the age bands. I'm giving you the 2023 limits as well as the 2022 limits. If you're, still in the middle of filing your taxes, you may be able to take advantage of this. And you can actually take the deduction if you itemize your deductions. If you take the standard deduction, it's not, eligible for deduction. And it has to exceed that 7.5% AGI threshold, adjusted gross income threshold. Yeah.
So on my 22 taxes, I could take 5960.
You could take, for 2023. For 2022, you can take 5,640.
Yeah, and then 23 will be assumably higher than that.
Yes, yeah, that's.
And that's the annual premium for the
I see.
insurance.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
I see.
The annual, that number is what an annual premium would be.
Not necessarily, it's just the limit. This is the limit, because your
Okay.
premium might be more, right?
Okay.
But this is the maximum you can deduct for
Okay.
the age limit.
All right.
So, good question.
You're deducting what?
The premium, like a portion of the premium, the long-term care.
Because my Prudential keeps telling me that I can't deduct any of it.
Right, because it's probably a 101G. It falls under 101G, Internal Revenue Code 101G. If it falls under Internal Revenue Code 7702B, you can deduct a portion of it.
We'll give you a copy of this, of this program here.
Yeah, but that's a great point that you mentioned, because most people think, oh, okay, I have an IUL, an Index Universal Life Policy with a chronic illness rider. I should be able to deduct that.
Yeah,
No.
every year I ask my Prudential, the person that sold it to me, and she says, nope, same answer,
Yeah,
no deductibility.
right.
Huh.
I go, gee, $700 a month, that's $8,400 a year, and I can't deduct any of it?
Hey, ask her to find something else for you, or, like we can find something, we can maybe look for something for you, so
I'm
it
paying
doesn't
that
hurt to
quarter.
ask.
For both of us.
Yeah.
But this is per person, correct?
Exactly, it's per person,
So if you're married,
if you're married, you can.
you double
You double
it.
that.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You can double.
You double the deduction?
Yeah.
It depends on what age she's at. Is she also 70?
She's way older.
39, she's 39.
Yeah, so both of you could theoretically take a maximum, each of you
Yeah,
could take a maximum
yeah.
of 59.60 for 2023.
I just went through my taxes with my accountant yesterday, so
Yeah.
I gotta give her a call.
Yeah, give her a call, see, and then also talk to your agent
Yeah,
to find out which internal revenue code that policy is under.
well, it's, like I said, it's at least 10 years old,
Okay.
so
Well,
would that even apply?
Yeah, I mean, the agent should be able to know, like, which internal revenue code it falls under.
Well, they're proposing a new, IRS is proposing a new tax form, very simple, just 2 boxes. How much did you make last year? And the next one says, send it to us.
Yeah,
On December 29th of last year, the Secure 2.0 Act was passed, and there was a provision in there related to long-term care insurance funding. Is if somebody's still under the age of 59 and a half, they could take up to $2,500 in distributions from their 401k to pay for long-term care insurance premiums without being subject to the 10% early withdrawal penalty. Okay, but there's still gonna be tax on the distribution. I mean, I think that's kind of a small price to pay, right?
Is that only for health related?
This is for the long-term care
Only.
insurance premiums, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's one nugget that I was able to find in the Secure 2.0 Act. But there are a few other ones. So how can you protect yourself and your loved ones? Well, you want to get all your advocates on the same page, right? You want to get them, ideally, have them meet in the same page, get them into a meeting and then talk about what your wishes are, and then draft a plan, right? And if you need to implement any tools into, just activating that plan, yeah, do it as soon as you can while you're still healthy, right, and coherent. And then you want to revisit your plan at least every 3 years, right? And don't wait longer than 5 years. I actually worked with somebody who put together a plan, and it was like 10 to 20 years old. Yeah. So the other thing is California. The California legislature passed Assembly Bill 567 about 4 years ago, and it was to put together a task force to conduct an actuarial study to see the feasibility of setting up a state long-term care program. And the findings are due to the governor on January 1st, 2024. The reason why they had to do this is because, well, long-term care is going to be a very big issue, especially with more and more people retiring and needing long-term care services. So the first guinea pig to start a state long-term care program was the state of Washington. What they did was in 2021, they started to implement a 0.58% payroll tax for people who work in Washington, the state of Washington. They don't necessarily have to reside in the state of Washington, but they have to pay that payroll tax. Now the problem is that the benefits were only available to the residents, so then there's some lawsuits against the state of Washington for that. So hopefully they'll get that fixed soon. But that's coming down the pike. Yes?
I'm a member of RPEA.
Okay.
Retired Public Employees Association.
Okay.
And CalPERS offered a long-term care plan, which was terribly flawed.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been nothing but lawsuits ever
Yes.
since. I mean, and that's what we discuss almost every time we get together every quarter, is the progress of the lawsuit against CalPERS.
Yeah, and 2 years ago, I think it was about 2 years ago, the plaintiffs actually, they were on the verge of winning that lawsuit, but then CalPERS was able to walk away based on a technicality. Yeah, it was.
Well, the lawsuit's been reinstated, and they're back suing each other.
Yeah, so I do know one person who's still using the long-term care. She's about 80, and
It's a terrible system.
Yeah, so
You know,
hopefully.
I remember when they offered it to me, I had my accountant look at it, and he looked like, no.
Yeah, that was a very smart accountant, by the way. Yeah. So, these are just ideas, right? Of course, you'll want to consult with your tax person, your financial advisor, your agent, get them all on the same page together, and make sure that your plan is, pretty solid. So that's all I have for you guys at this point.
Okay, the rates, how do they relate to age when you start? In other words, if you start later, are they lower, or are they higher, or what?
Yeah, what do you mean by?
The monthly
rate?
cost.
Oh, the premiums?
The
Yeah, the
premiums.
premiums, oh, okay. Yeah, the premiums are, it depends on what you know, how old you are,
That's what I'm saying.
right? Yeah, how old you are
But how
at
does
the
it
time that
relate?
you apply.
If you,
Jameson.
okay,
At the
so if
time
you're
that you-
older, is it less or is it more?
More,
Well, yeah, it would be more,
it's more.
Why?
risk.
Because it's shorter time.
right,
Because
because,
you're so close to not having paid enough into them to start making
Yep,
money on
so you
your
have to put
own
in more.
when you
It's-
start getting the services.
yeah.
But the
Exactly.
services aren't gonna go as long because you're older.
Not necessarily.
Right, but the risk is that you'll need them pretty soon,
You
right?
need them
Who's-
sooner.
The likelihood of you needing those services
Yeah.
is much higher. And plus, I'm sure that there is more care involved too. Balancing everything out, it's like the time span, right? That if you have a longer time span, it's kind of like saving and investing too.
Retirement savings too,
Yeah.
right? If you put in earlier at
Well,
25, it'll grow more.
if
They-
it's
Correct,
They
yeah.
always say.
If it's a
risk-
payable one, yeah, but it's kinda like, whole life in that respect. I mean, in other words.
The
what you got is
earlier
what you
everyone
got.
starts, the better.
Yeah.
Do you guys as financial planners recommend that people do like a HELOC just so it can be sitting there ready, just in case kind of thing?
Well,
I'm just curious.
it depends. I mean, everyone's situation is different. You know, everyone's situation is different. I
Because when
mean,
you
like,
need the money, they're not gonna give it to you, and they kind of, you know, somehow they know all the time if you're sick or you're unemployed or whatever. And then they start cutting the cards off and everything. But when you need the money,
yeah,
You don't wanna give-
so the time to, you know, the time to do it is when you don't need it, right? Get all the stuff set
Yeah.
in place when you don't need it, right? So that when you do, you know, at least you have another door you can walk through, right?
So a lot of these plans that you mentioned is different ways to put this together. Are the insurance policies do have some type of health qualifiers or anything of that nature
Yes.
and testing and that, all that good stuff?
Yes, for the hybrid care solutions, if it's tethered to like a life insurance policy, they are going to conduct like a telephone interview. And they'll.
With whom?
With the applicant.
Okay.
Yeah, so somebody from the pyramid company will call the applicant and ask them just basic questions, like what year is it, right? You know, it's nothing to be afraid of, it's just like who's the president, who's, you know, just basic
Well,
questions.
that sounds like a cognitive test more than anything
Yeah,
else.
they're conducting cognitive tests, and then depending on how fast or how cooperative the doctor's office is in releasing the medical records, you know, the underwriting can process the application very quickly, even faster than a regular whole life insurance application. Yeah, so.
So
Yeah.
the possibility of someone taking out one of these policies based on the responses gotten back from medical professionals and answers the consumer gives, that policy option could be denied.
Yes, and I have seen people get denied. Yeah.
Are the premiums fixed, or can they adjust the premiums as they wish down the road based on their payout experience?
They're determined from the very beginning. You know, you determine the premium from the very beginning. They're a
fixed?
fixed amount. Yeah, they're a fixed amount. Yeah,
Really?
yeah. But they wouldn't go up, right?
Who's the typical carrier for that then?
For the asset-based care solution, that's something that One America specializes in. They held a patent for that particular solution for up until 2 years ago. The patent expired 2 years ago. So Lincoln is also another one.
How about John Hancock?
Not John Hancock, just Lincoln and One
Of course, I have John Hancock.
America. Okay.
So
Here go, I'm asking the question.
Well,
during the policy period, you know, most people get their policies canceled for non-payment. But is there a possibility during this that the insurer reruns a medical cognitive test while the policy is in play?
Nope,
Okay, so it's
You
done
can't.
at the beginning.
Yeah, it's done at the beginning.
Done once.
done once.
Okay.
Yeah, done once. As long as the applicant didn't lie on their application, then the insurer is held to their obligation.
Nobody lies.
Yeah, nobody. But, you know, I was gonna say that the presentation is recorded, so if you walked in, you know, midway, at least you can watch the recording and,
back when I was in my 30s, I got a universal whole life insurance policy through Alexander Hamilton, and I funded it for many years, and then I was unemployed for a period of about 6 years, and it kept funding itself until at the very end it said, if you want to keep the policy, now you do have to pay a premium because all the cash value is used up.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a nice feature of those type of insurance policies.
Exactly, yeah, that is, I mean, and you can attest to that, right? Because 6 year,
Oh.
you can attest to that because, yeah, through those 6 years, the insurance company was able to pay that premium for you.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, good choice. Good choice getting that in place when you were only in your 30s, yeah. So, does anyone else have any questions? I'm sure there'll be more later.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome job.
Glad to share.
Very good.
That's